Today in history, May 8th.
For 53 BC, spring and autumn period, the house of Zhao defeats the house of Zi, ending the Battle of Jinyang, a military conflict between the elite families of the state of Jin.
413. Emperor Honorius signs an edict providing tax relief for the Italian provinces Tusta, Campania Picenum, Samnium, Apulia, Lucania, and Calabria, which were plundered by the Visigoths.
589. Ricardi opens the Third Council of Toledo, marking the entry of Visigothic Spain into the Catholic Church.
1360 Treaty of Brittany drafted between King Edward III of England and King John II of France the Good.
1373 Julian of Norwich, a Christian mystic and anchoress, experiences the deathbed visions described in her revelations of divine love.
1429 Joan of Arc lifts the siege of Orleans, turning the tide of the 100 Years' War.
1450 Kentishman revolt against King Henry VI.
1516 a group of imperial guards, led by Turn Dui Sen, murdered Emperor Ltiang Tc and fled, leaving the capital Thang long undefended.
1541 Hernando de Soto stops near present-day Walls, Mississippi, and sees the Mississippi River, then known by the Spanish as Rio Espiritu Santo, the name given to it by Alonso Varese de Pineda in 1519. 1608 a newly nationalized silver mine in Scotland at Hildeston, West Lothian, is reopened by Bevis Bulmer.
1639 William Coddington founds Newport, Rhode Island.
1758 The Maratha Empire captures Peshawar from the Durrani Empire in the Battle of Peshawar.
The Maratha Empire was extended to its farthest distance away from Pune that it ever reached, over 2,000 kilometers 1200 mi, almost to the borders of Afghanistan.
1788 King Louis XVI of France attempts to impose the reforms of Etienne Charles de Lomenie de Brienne by abolishing the parliaments.
1794 Branded a traitor during the Reign of Terror, French chemist Antoine Lavoisier, who was also a tax collector with the firm G.N. is tried, convicted, and guillotined in one day in Paris.
1821 Greek War of Independence. The Greeks defeat the Turks at the Battle of Gravia Inn.
1842 a train derails and catches fire in Paris, killing between 52 and 200 people.
1846 Mexican-American War. American forces led by Zachary Taylor defeat a Mexican force north of the Rio Grande in the first major battle of the war.
1877 At Gilmore's Gardens in New York City, the first Westminster Kennel Club dog show opens.
1886 Pharmacist John Pemberton first sells a carbonated beverage named Coca-Cola as a patent medicine.
1898 The first games of the Italian Football League system are played.
1899 The Irish Literary Theatre in Dublin produced its first play. 1902 in Martinique, Mount Pelly erupts, destroying the town of Saint Pierre and killing over 30,000 people. Only a handful of residents survived the blast.
1919 Edward George Honey proposes the idea of a moment of silence to commemorate the armistice of November 11, 1918, which ended World War I.
1924 The Klaipėda Convention is signed, formally incorporating Klaipėda region, Memel territory, into Lithuania.
1927 attempting to make the first non-stop transatlantic flight from Paris to New York, French war heroes Charles Nungesser and Francois Colli disappear after taking off aboard the White Bird biplane.
1933 Mohandas Gandhi begins a 21-day fast of self-purification and launched a one-year campaign to help the Horigen movement.
1941 World War II. The German Luftwaffe launches A bombing raid on Nottingham and Derby.
1942, World War II. The German 11th Army begins. Operation Trap and Jag busted Hunt and destroys the bridgehead of the three Soviet armies defending the Kerch Peninsula.
1940 to World War II. The Battle of the Coral Sea comes to an end with Imperial Japanese Navy aircraft carrier aircraft attacking and sinking the United States Navy aircraft carrier USS Lexington.
1942, World War II. Gunners of the Ceylon Garrison Artillery on Horsburgh Island in the Cocos Islands rebel in the Cocos Islands Mutiny. Their mutiny is crushed and 3 of them are executed, the only British Commonwealth soldiers to be executed for mutiny during the Second World War.
1945, World War II. The German instrument of surrender signed at Berlin-Kolshorst comes into effect.
1945, end of the Prague Uprising, celebrated now as a national holiday in the Czech Republic.
1945, hundreds of Algerian civilians are killed by French army soldiers in the Sétif massacre.
1945, the Halifax riot starts when thousands of civilians and servicemen rampage through Halifax, Nova Scotia.
1946, Estonian schoolgirls Aili G. and Ajita Pavel blow up the Soviet memorial, which preceded the Bronze Soldier of Tallinn.
1950, the Tolland man was discovered in a peat bog near Silkeborg, Denmark.
1957, South Vietnamese President Ngo Dinh Diem began a state visit to the United States, his regime's main sponsor.
1963, South Vietnamese soldiers, under the Roman Catholic President Ngo Dinh Diem, opened fire on Buddhists defying a ban on the flying of the Buddhist flag on Vesak, killing 9 and sparking the Buddhist crisis.
1967, the Philippine province of Davao is split into 3, Davao del Norte, Davao del Sur, and Davao Oriental.
1970, the Beatles released their 12th and final studio album, Let It Be.
1970 to Vietnam War. U.S. President Richard Nixon announces his order to place naval mines in major North Vietnamese ports in order to stem the flow of weapons and other goods to that nation.
1973, a 71-day standoff between federal authorities and the American Indian Movement members occupying the Pine Ridge Reservation at Wounded Knee. South Dakota ends with the surrender of the militants.
1976, the roller coaster, The New Revolution. The first steel coaster with a vertical loop opens at Six Flags Magic Mountain.
1978, the first ascent of Mount Everest, without supplemental oxygen, by Reinhold Messner and Peter Habler.
1980, the World Health Organization confirms the eradication of smallpox.
1984. Corporal Dennis Lordy enters the Quebec National Assembly, opens fire, killing 3 people and wounding 13.
René Jalbert, Sergeant-at-Arms of the Assembly, succeeds in calming him, for which he will later receive the Cross of Valor. 1980, for the USS announces a boycott upon the Summer Olympics at Los Angeles, later joined by 14 other countries.
1984, the Thames Barrier is officially opened, preventing the floodplain of most of Greater London from being flooded except under extreme circumstances. 1987, the SAS kills 8 Provisional Irish Republican Army volunteers and a civilian during an ambush in Loughgall, Northern Ireland.
1988. A fire at Illinois Bell's Hinsdale Central Office triggers an extended 1 AES's network outage, once considered to be the worst telecommunications disaster in US telephone industry history.
1997, China Southern Airlines Flight 3456 crashes on approach into Bowen International Airport, killing 35 people.
2019, British 17-year-old Isabel Holdaway is reported to be the first patient ever to receive a genetically modified phage therapy to treat a drug-resistant infection.
2021 A car bomb explodes in front of a school in Kabul, capital city of Afghanistan, killing at least 55 people and wounding over 150.
Emancipation Day, Columbus, Mississippi.
Free Dance, Helston, UK.
Liberation Day, Czech Republic.
Miguel Hidalgo's birthday, Mexico.
Parents' Day, South Korea.
Truman Day, Missouri.
Veterans Day, Norway.
White Lotus Day, Theosophy.
World Red Cross and Red Crescent Day. International.
Thanks for watching.